Brandon, of course, is one of the all-time great running backs in New York Giants history. Leads the franchise-wise in touchdowns, which is crazy. You're one. Tiki Barber is number 2, if I have that right. You also beat this guy's team in the famous 2007 run to the Super Bowl. And it's very cold, Greg was telling me that day, but not too cold for the Giants to kick your ass. That's right.
I didn't bring this up.
I know you did.
All right, you have had. This is the kick. Was to win it. Was that Lawrence Tynes, if I'm not mistaken, and that sent the New York Giants off to the Super Bowl. And the skittish quarterback, Eli Manning, who nobody believed in, even your GM Jerry Reese called him skittish. And then you and a young man named Ahmad Bradshaw in Orchard Park, New York, against the Buffalo Bills said, "We got this. We'll take care of business," and the rest is history.
Right, coming into the 2007 season, we had no idea what to expect. We started off on to, a lot of teams, like quite frankly, like the year before, I think we were 11-5. My first 2 years with the Giants, we had a really good record.
Yep.
And, in 2007, it just started off rough, man.
0-2 and down big to Washington.
Yep.
Goal line stand to win it.
Yep, goal line stand to win it. I was hurt that game. And I watched that game from home.
Really?
Absolutely.
And now you guys have given up 80 points in the first 2 weeks, and if you lose that game, it's a wrap.
And one of those first 2 games was Green Bay.
Got it.
They put 38 points on it.
And to speak to that,
yeah.
like the Giants, from our perspective, and probably everybody across the NFL, like if you can get them early in the season, that's when you wanted them. Later in the season, it had been their MO to be more physical, just a tougher team, and they get hot. And that's exactly
what happened.
But the fact that you guys choked a home playoff game away is your problem, not our problem. Let's move on, Greg. You won a Super Bowl. Relax. It's all good. You've had a lot to say lately, Brandon. I've been following you on social media about today's NFL. So let me just start you with the obvious. Saquon Barkley, of course, has to come in, not so much tail between the legs, but has to settle for the franchise tag, $10.1 million. You played running back for the New York Giants. Saquon is the biggest piece of that offense. Your thoughts on how the Giants handle that situation?
Well, I mean, great organization. I do think Saquon Barkley, he should have got a multi-year deal, regardless of when last year, maybe when free agent came in this year. Because without Saquon Barkley, the Giants aren't as good, aren't as talked about, any of that. So, I mean, I can sit here and say that, honestly, without Saquon Barkley, I don't think Daniel Jones is as effective.
No doubt. And they're not a playoff team last year, and he ain't getting $82 million guaranteed over the next 2 years. Because without Saquon Barkley, that might be a 5-win team, right? At best, that's a 5-win team. But overall, he's got no choice. You ain't going to sit out. We learned from Le'Veon Bell that don't work. And you're going to get $10 million. The problem is that they're just going to franchise him again if he has another great year. And that's a weird spot for running backs to be in. But go ahead.
I think after the uproar this year with Saquon Barkley, I don't think the Giants will franchise him again next year. I think they'll really test him. I think they'll really test the market for another guy, which that's a generational talent that Saquon has. There is no other guys out there like him, and I think they're going to miss out on having Saquon Barkley after this season.
Now, what I love is when you were texting me last night about how much you love the New York Jets now, and with Aaron Rodgers there, as you were saying to me privately last night, you think the Jets are the number one choice to win the Super Bowl. I know, and that's not normal for you because you're not a Jet guy, but if you want to elaborate on what you were telling me last night, for the audience, I'm okay with you sharing our conversation. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to elaborate. on that. Okay. The New York Jets is going to be the New York Jets. And who have the New York Jets been?
We don't want that.
We don't
want that. We don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, you made one change on your team.
It's a pretty big change.
He's 41 years old.
He can play quarterback. Zach Wilson can't play quarterback.
He's 41 years old.
Okay.
He's 41 years old.
Did you see him throw the ball to them Nets last night? Like it was nothing. Dude, he's different. You know he's different.
He had a time and point last year in the season where I thought he was cooked and done.
He had a broken thumb. What do you want him to do? Throw lefty? Come on, Brandon.
A broken thumb. This is the only finger matter when throwing the football. This one right here. This one.
Just for the record, that's a big index finger. My Lord. But go ahead.
The Jets, they got Sauce, and I think Sauce, like he's young, he's phenomenal.
Legit
he's done
stud.
everything. Yeah, no question.
Yep.
They got Wilson at wide
Receiver,
receiver,
no
who's really
question,
good.
stud.
But that's it. That is it. They're going to need more than that. Who?
Alan Lazard. On defense, we got Mosley, we got Reed, we got Quinnen Williams. You hate the Jets.
I do.
You're a Jet hater.
I do. I hate the Jets.
Why do you hate the Jets? They did nothing to you.
You're right. They did nothing to me. They just been the little brothers in the city who always thought that they were, relevant.
Yes.
And this is why I deal with the type of stuff I deal with, like with the Jets.
Yeah.
You're getting worked up and everything.
You think you're something.
That's right.
This is our city. This is always
tell them.
It's never going to change. Right now, it's never, ever going to change, people. This is a New York Giants city.
It changed.
That's it.
It's only changed twice in my lifetime. Rex Ryan Jets. You were here.
We won a
Rex
Super Bowl
Ryan,
that year.
Rex Ryan.
We won a Super Bowl that year.
Ryan Jets. You can't knock them. The Rex Ryan Jets back-to-back AFC Championship games. You're in the corner crying. I wish I could play for Rex Ryan. I wish I could play for Rex Ryan. I remember the conversations we had. Tom Coughlin's too tough. I wish Rex was my coach. Things have changed, haven't they?
No, I love Coach Coughlin.
Oh, no, you don't.
I love Coach Coughlin.
You love him now.
No, I've always loved Coach Coughlin. Coach Coughlin has played a major part in shaping me into a man that I am.
Really?
No, there's no question about it.
So let me stop you here for 1 second, if I may, because it's going to lead me to the Eric Bieniemy stuff. And I don't want to put words in your mouth to explain it, but because he was a tough love guy, you needed that as a younger man, or because he did something else?
I needed that type.
You did.
I needed that type of love from someone. And me growing up, I never really had, I had a father figure in my Uncle Phil, right? But I didn't have my father in my life, right? So me coming up through like all the coaches that I played for through college and everything else, they've been tough guys. They've been tough, old-fashioned, hard hat, lunch pail guys that live and raise their family off of structure. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like Coach Coughlin was all about structure. We needed structure. You don't walk into a meeting late and then you got a coach up there talking. You're playing with your chip bag. You got your sunflower seeds. You interrupting the meeting. Come sit in the meeting 3 or 4 minutes before the meeting starts and get your stuff ready for your meeting. And then when people get up, start talking and talk about plays and so on and so forth, you're not interrupting the
So
group.
did he teach you how to be a professional?
Yeah,
Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
All right, so when you hear people in Washington, as the story came out yesterday, players on the Commandos going to Ron Rivera complaining that Eric Bieniemy's too tough on them, how do you react to that?
I just think that's just a loser's mentality. And that's the only way I can say it. A loser's mentality. He's coming in. He wants structure. He's been a part of Super Bowl teams in Kansas City. He's been a major part of it. Like people always ask, who is it? Patrick Mahomes, Eric Bieniemy, or Andy Reid? It doesn't matter. He was a major part of those teams that won the Super Bowl. He was a major part of it. So are you going to sit back as being a part of a losing career so far you've had?
Right.
To paying attention and following this guy who's been to the promised land more than one time than one.
Like, I'm not a big culture guy. I think it's an overused term. I think if you're a good team, the culture's good. If you're a bad team, the culture is bad. But I think you make a good point. Bieniemy, whether he was the leader of it or not, comes from winning. And if you inject that into a team that's done nothing but lose for a long time, the first guy that complains about it is the first guy I cut. That's how I would handle it.
So I have a question, because you talk about Tom Coughlin and how he impacted your life, but how much of that do you equate to having that type of coach and it actually working because you guys won? Because I think a lot of those parallels are drawn with that, with winning as well. If you can coach that way and you win, and you've proven that it works from a head coach perspective, then okay, we accept it. But were there times where you felt like, man, Coach Coughlin, it's too much of a heavy hand. Or was there nurturing at the same time and in the same breath, or when needed?
It was definitely nurturing when needed. We created he created a leadership committee for our team, You know, I was a part of it.
Saved his job in doing it, too.
He did that to say, okay, I am making the decisions for this team. Things seem not to have been going well for this team because of the decisions I am making. You guys aren't happy. So I'm going to communicate with you on what I want, and let's find a medium. And you get together with the team, and let's figure something out that way. And once he did that, everything was great.
Yeah, like you can't, in my experience, and obviously I covered the Giants when Brandon was there, you can't just be a browbeater all the time.
No, you cannot.
And especially that particular team, Coughlin was losing the team, and he was on his way out too, as Brandon can tell you obviously better than I can. And it wasn't until he went to you guys, and it was Michael Strahan and a couple other guys on the squad, I imagine you were probably part of it as well, where he re-earned the respect of the guys in the locker room. Because remember, guys at first were like, I'm 5 minutes early, but I just got fined. Right? It was that kind of military nonsense, and guys just don't like it. I'm sure there's a point when you may even rebelled against it until you bought into what he was teaching, right?
I've never broken a rule. I've never broken one rule from Coach Coughlin. I've always been there. Yeah, I've never gotten fined for not being somewhere on time.
Why were you so misunderstood by the media? Everyone thought, boy, that Brandon Jennings, he's a cantankerous, mean guy who doesn't like following the rules, and stay away from him. Yeah, a lot of that was your reputation.
It was a lot of people, because I didn't like the media either. Like at the point, because a lot of times the media, the way they ask you questions and you answer the question, but you don't answer the question the way they want you to answer the question, and they ask you the same question in a different format.
Like they have a narrative they want you to fill.
You're not smarter than me. Why do you think you're smarter than me? I just answered that question. Not doing it again. You know, like people didn't, and they didn't like that.
Yeah, I never did that, by the way.
Really?
I know. I wouldn't air every day, but I never did it. Hey there. Thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.